We are here with one of the legends of the gig economy. Okay, fine.
Keep
No,
that
you
in.
keep
Nope,
going.
I'm rolling.
No, keep rolling. I wasn't trying to.
No.
B-roll.
Okay. We're here with Sergio. Sergio, I want to push your buttons a little bit.
Yes.
Start this out here.
For it.
What was the last Uber ride that you had that really messed with your mind? Some passenger that really just pissed you off?
That had to be like a while ago, probably a couple of years ago.
Really?
Yeah, at least a couple of years ago. The last one I had was a wonderful old lady, tipped me beautifully. So, no, most of my trips, by the way, people think like I cherry pick and do this and do that. I don't. But the trip that I accept, I'm going to finish. I don't cancel. My cancellation rate is 0. However, when I was driving a lot more, like the more you drive, the more issues you may run into. The last one I had was a gentleman. Well, I don't know what the gentleman. I don't think he had showered for like 6 months. And the problem wasn't that. The problem is like I have ozone in the car for, people who get in my car who smell like pot and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. This smell, this body odor did not leave my car, whatever I did, for like 2 days.
Wow.
And I was like, there you go. That's the price of rideshare for you.
Smells like he just got skunked or something.
I swear to God, I think he was like, a skunk in a human body. So that was it. That was it. Yeah.
Sergio, when you think about the world of Uber, rideshare, the gig economy as a whole,
Yes.
what is something that genuinely shocks you that is just seen as commonplace or normal?
I mean, not much shocks me anymore since I've been in this industry for so long. Look, I try to put myself in Ubers and Lyfts and DoorDash's shoes. And I also put myself, obviously, in the driver's shoes. And I think the disconnect is the companies don't do that enough. That if they did that, if they drove themselves, if they delivered themselves quite often, they would understand and none of us would have channels, actually. We didn't have to make, content and complain about it 24 hours. But I have to give it to Uber and Lyft specifically for rideshare. They have created this platform, a marketplace for people to make money. Now, I just said earn something. I didn't say be profitable. There are levels of success in this game, obviously, but I give them all the credit for creating the marketplace. You can wake up at 3 in the morning, turn your app on, you will make some money. In what world with lower barriers to entry? The thing that pisses me off is they do not care for the drivers. They look at drivers as just a number, because of their scale probably. And I wish they figured we're all humans and driving takes a toll, physical, emotional, spiritual, all kinds of ways. And that's not talked about in the industry whatsoever, which we should talk more about that. And those are the things, 2 things that if I wish I could fix, it would be companies putting themselves in the driver and courier shoes and, make the industry better, because the space is a wonderful space. Make things better for everyone. If you make it better for the rider and driver and the companies, I think the industry as a whole will improve.
Okay, so this is something that's been talked about all event, is AI and the future of how AI is going to be brought into rideshare, the gig economy, and everything as such. One of the biggest talking points has been robo-taxis.
Yes.
How big of a threat do you think robo-taxis actually are to rideshare drivers?
I did a webinar about a week and a half ago about the exact subject. For a decade or so, not much.
Not much?
Not much, no. I'm not worried about it. I think robo-taxi unit economics, especially Waymo, let's say, is completely upside down. If you look into it, I have a finance background, so I try to analyze it that way as opposed to just on an emotional or whatever basis. I don't see them as a threat because right now I can turn my Uber app on, Rider app, which I'm a passenger. I use them as a consumer myself. And in the Lyft app, there literally will be 8 cars from Uber and 8 cars from Lyft. Relatively close, within, let's say, half a mile radius, okay? To create that kind of scale and density will not happen for at least a decade, if not more.
That's a really good point, yeah.
And even if they do that to create, because look, what is Uber and Lyft good at? Matching and picking you up in 4 minutes or less. In order to do that, you have to create density. They're running a 0 asset business model. The cars are not theirs. If you're a driver in this corner waiting for half an hour, not getting chips, it's not Uber's fault or problem. Uber's not losing money on that. But if there is a Waymo circling and waiting on a $150,000 car to do a $10 trip, doesn't make any sense. Unit economics are completely upside down. So I'm not concerned for at least a decade. And I never think autonomous vehicles are going to ever replace the human driver, because human drivers are always going to be needed. But there's definitely going to be probably less requests, less trips. And look, it's inevitable. These companies are pouring billions and billions of dollars into it. They're not dumb people. And but no, humans, drivers are never going to be replaced. But to create the density and the scale with very expensive vehicles, and they own the vehicles now, right? You have capex costs that are astronomical, billions of dollars in fleets. So you're going from a zero asset business model to a vertically integrated business model, which is you own the asset now. You have to charge it, clean it, do everything that the driver is doing and bring in their tools to work for free for you versus you paying for that. There's a cost for that. So that has to be analyzed. And that's why I think a decade at least, that Uber and Lyft drivers shouldn't be worried about it.
Yeah, excellent points. I mean, I really can't disagree, but I do have one more question here, a bit of a fun one. When is the last time you took an Uber or a Lyft, and where did you take it to?
Oh, as a rider?
Yeah, as a passenger.
Oh, let's see. Last time I took an Uber was when I was traveling in Tampa a couple of months ago. I took an Uber from the airport to my hotel. Luckily, the driver knew me. He was like, well, or unluckily, I don't know. He knew me, and then I told him, I need a pack of smokes. Can you stop at of course. He goes, yeah, you want me to come pick you up when you're leaving? I'm like, no. And that was the only time I used Uber on that travel, on that trip. On Lyft, Lyft, I used it last week.
Really?
I used it last week, yeah. Go from my house to Trader Joe's. I got ripped off. I paid $12 for a mile and a half.
And
I do check both, by the way. I use them quite often, actually. And I check both, and I mean, they were charging me $10 a mile. And I'm like, the driver, I asked the driver, I go, how much you making? I bet you nothing more like $3.12. He goes, yeah, how'd you know? I'm like, yeah, I know. So 12 to $3.12 is $9 margin. I'm going like, that's a pretty sweet deal for Lyft. Yeah, that was the last time I did that.
Speaking of margins, when was the last time you gave a passenger a $0 tip or a 1-star rating?
As a rider, $0
Yeah.
tip? Never.
Never. Always tip.
I've had one bad experience about 3 years ago in Santa Monica. Me and my wife were out to dinner. That's when I figured, by the way, all the cars that they show up on their apps as a rider is phantom. They don't exist. Because I turned my rider app on, there were 4 cars on the next table, literally next to me. I'm going like, how could there be 4 cars inside the restaurant? And then I ordered the chip. It says, oh, your driver is coming and it's going to take 6 minutes. I'm like, so let's hocus pocus. Those cars don't exist. So they do have a lot of phantom cars on the app. So, but long story short, a Prius showed up. I'm not kidding. The bumper was on the floor. It's hanging off the car. So I'm going like, my wife's looking at me like, should we get in? I'm like, yeah, because if I cancel, Uber's going to rip me for $6. So I'm like, yeah, I want to get in. We're going to go to our hotel. Long story short, I get in. I go, buddy. He didn't know me, which is great. He was like, I go, buddy, you're like, is this safe? Like, your bumper is on the floor. He goes, yeah, it just happened. I didn't report it. I'm fine. I'm going like, see, this guy deserves a full 1 star and no tip, but I still tipped him. And I think I gave him 4 stars. I didn't give him 1 star. I can't do it. It's not in my heart. I just can't do it.
A heart full of gold. Thank you so much, Sergio.
Thank you.
Thank you.